Welcome everyone to this morning's session. If it's morning for you, aware that it may be a different time of day for some of us. And yeah, wonderful to just arrive, connect, feel the Sangha coming together, gathering together. And this movement of gathering, gather into ourselves individually in the practice. And we also gather together as a community here on this platform as a support for our practice. And so really welcoming kind of all of us internally, also welcoming all of who we are or how we are in this moment for each of us, and then welcoming each other as well, having that sense of welcoming the all different aspects of one self, different aspects of our bigger community self. Yeah, so very delighted to be here again in this middle morning of our week, the heart of the week, we could say. And those who don't know me, my name is Zohar, and I'm one of the teachers that offer these morning sessions every once in a while. And as always, our time together today will consist of a short reflection on the theme of the practice, and then a good chunk of time, at least half an hour, to practice together, and time for reflection at the end. So I hope so far you can hear me well and clearly. I know it sometimes tends to kind of appear later on, the issues with the sounds, but if they're already present, do let me know. And yeah, let's take a pause for a moment to see if anything comes back, and then dive into the reflections for today. Take another moment to pause and arrive. So we've been exploring this theme of wholehearted presence this week, and different ways that we can attune, relate to our experience, that support that sense of presence, that sense of engagement. So we've been inclining our attention towards sorry, I'm just seeing West Dorset approaching from Ellie there. Thanks, Ellie. That's my home county, but I'm in Israel at the moment. So as we incline to gentleness and curiosity in attention, and as we nourish that sense of trust, of confidence, of conviction that we were exploring yesterday, we can hopefully begin or continue to feel the base of our practice widening and deepening. And I want to say a little bit more about that today. Feeling how the base of our practice, the support for our practice, or what our practice rests on and into, widens and deepens. What do I mean by that? It deepens and widens in the sense that we are willing and able to meet more of our experience without rejection. We're willing and able to meet more of our experience without rejection. And to say here, this is the meeting more of our experience without rejection is not about becoming just a kind of, okay, I'll take everything and anything without any engagement, but it's kind of diffusing that level of rejection that often gets in the way, that gets in the way of a skillful response, that increases actually levels of dukkha, of suffering for ourselves and for others. So this wider base, this capacity to be able to and willing to meet our experience or more of our experience with less or without rejection, can be spoken of as wholeheartedness. Yeah? This wholeheartedness, whatever is arising, willing to meet. You know, whatever is here, willing to meet. Yeah? Really kind of paying attention to what comes up for us as we hear this. You know, it doesn't mean that we go out seeking the difficult or the unpleasant. And we spoke of this yesterday in the comments and questions towards the end. If we feel at a time in our lives that we're more sensitive, more vulnerable, you know, we look after ourselves. This is not instead of, but we can look after ourselves with less rejection. We can stand up for what matters to us with less rejection. And hopefully I'll have time to give an example of that. So this wholeheartedness, this willingness to meet what is arising, what is present for us with kindness, with curiosity, and with the developing and developed confidence in the capacity to attend to it skillfully. Oh, here we go. Now we see that this beautiful kind of web of approaches, attitudes that are building to support us in this journey from dukkha to freedom and well-being, from entanglement to disentanglement, unentanglement. So this confidence in the capacity to attend skillfully and to learn and grow from that which we meet and from how we attend to it. So this phrase, wholeheartedness, let's pause a little bit with that. It's very, for me, a very beautiful phrase, and it means many, many things. But that sense of the whole of the heart offered in this moment, to this arising. Giving the fullness of our attention and the fullness of our being. As you know, we know these experiences often in the relational field, when maybe we're with our grandchild, or maybe we're with someone who listens to us in that way, and there's a sense of the wholeness of the being present. So that's kind of an example of the quality that we're looking for, knowing, of course, that it has a spectrum like everything else. So it's not like every single moment we have to be totally, completely, fully there, and if we're not, we've failed. But that sense of the whole of the heart, coming into the moment, being willing to step into this moment of experience. And also, this wholeheartedness relates to what I said in the beginning with the welcoming. The whole of the heart, or the whole of the being, included on this path. And so the wholeheartedness also means it's not just the beautiful, it's not just the easeful, it's not just the calm or the joyful in our meditation practice, for example, that we're including. We're including all of it. The grumpiness, the agitation, the difficult. It actually, all of that makes up our path, not just the bliss. That all of that is part of our path. So the wholeheartedness, that intention, that wish to show up fully with our whole being, our whole heart, offering our attention, offering our presence to this moment, and also the inclusivity of the wholeness of our being. All of that included on the path, not just certain parts. There's no gatekeeper to this path of freedom, saying, yes, you, no bouncer, if you like. And so in this process of the simplicity of our practice, of acknowledging it's like this now, as a first step, it's like this now. There's joy, it's like this now. There's agitation, it's like this now. We acknowledge and we check, can we relax the movement of push and pull on experience? We can we relax that resistance, that pushing away, or the clinging, the holding on, the pulling towards us, so that we can know this moment of experience with less of that push and pull. Can we open to this moment, or to this experience, or to this unfolding can we create this space that allows responsiveness to flourish? So resistance and the push and pull, they lead to reactivity. They are forms of reactivity already. But when we pause, when we meet, when we make time for this, when we bring our attention to this moment, whatever it is, we're creating space that allows responsiveness to flourish, that allows possibilities to open. So wholeheartedness in meeting this moment of our lives is like a quality of devotion. That's the word that was coming up for me. A quality of devotion, not devotion to something, not devotion to someone, but devotion to the possibilities that this moment offers us. Devotion to the possibilities and the potential that are awakened in every moment of presence, attention, interest, and kindness. The awakening of possibilities to attend wisely to our experience, to nourish well-being for one and all. An awakening of possibilities to attend wisely and to nourish well-being for one and all. And maybe the last thing I'll say here is, this is also a practice of humility. Yeah. It's the willingness to sometimes not know. It's the willingness to stay with aspects of our experience that may be uncomfortable or just unknown, and to be humble. Because we need to meet it, and we need to pause, and we need to be beginners again and again, so that options open up, so that learning and growth can happen. Yeah. So I think that's what I wanted to share as a reflection leading into our practice together. Wondering if I have time for an example. I'll leave the example till the end. We'll see if we have time for that then. So let's practice. Yay. See if we can feel our little bit of our enthusiasm or our devotion, or that part of us that knows that practice is actually wholesome in what we wish to do, and to lean into that as we either find our meditation posture for this time, if we're not in it already, or we kind of settle into it more fully, more deeply. Taking our time here is already part of our practice. We can already be attuned to an intention of a wholeheartedness as we check in with the body. As we make any adjustments that are needed so the body is as supported and stable as possible. Inviting the awareness more deeply, more fully into the body. Often a good way of doing this is through the sensations of contact, the body and that which supports the body. It might also be the body in itself, so the hands in contact with the knees or the thighs or the lap or each other. We can imagine or feel the gravity of awareness, the gravity of attention flowing down into the body, as if pulled by the gravitational force of the earth, gently invited. Let's take a few moments here, just feeling those sensations, feeling that contact, and the possibility of letting the awareness rest into that contact, into that support of the base of the body, contact areas. As we do so, we may notice some tension being held somewhere in the body. We can invite that to relax. Unnecessary tension. Gently softening, opening the awareness through the body if it's helpful, staying in touch with the contact sensations as a grounding, as a rooting of awareness, feeling the whole body opening out from those sensations. Remembering that practice is an act of kindness, a movement of kindness in the world as we practice, tuning into that remembrance. And then opening to feel what would be a helpful and appropriate anchor for attention for this period of practice. Always choosing one anchor for this time. Could be the contact sensations, the whole body combination. Could be the breath, could be sound, any other anchor that works for you that you know well. Once you've clarified what your anchor is, and opening to receive it in awareness and attention. Seeing if we can just attune the attention a little bit towards, or a lot towards, wholeheartedness. Receiving these sensations, or the breathing, or the sound. An intention of wholeheartedness to really be here. As a kind of exploration, not as a pressure. Acknowledging it's like this now. It doesn't have to be a certain way for me to be interested and attentive. So let's explore this for a while in silence. See what arises. Gently noticing what you notice in this moment of experience. Opening to this unfolding moment with curiosity, with gentleness, with confidence and possibilities of attending wisely, and with wholeheartedness. It's like this now, or what is this like? Offering our attention and feeling possibilities open. Feeling possibilities open in this moment and on the path. Can we meet this sound, breath, body, whatever it is that we're meeting? Can we meet this? Can the whole heart be present as we do so? Right now, in this moment, opening, relaxing into the body, opening awareness and attention to meet what is present and unfolding, the anchor or a distraction. We're meeting wholeheartedly. Can the whole heart meet this? Gentle and curious, trusting in possibilities, attending. If we're with the anchor, deepening that intention and commitment to meeting it wholly and heartfully. If we're meeting a distraction, acknowledging, and then re-establishing the presence in the body and the receiving of the anchor of our intention as often as is needed. Remembering the possibilities that open on this path of well-being again and again. And for the last 2 or 3 minutes of the practice, inviting ourselves to offer wholeheartedly our attention to each moment of experience unfolding, without preference, without rejection of anything, devoted to possibilities of growth and of skillful attending to each and every moment, starting with this one. When the bell rings, not rushing, staying with this wholehearted attention to the sound, to the movement of the body, and to the different senses as they open up. So thank you for your practice. And before opening to questions and reflections from you, just a few words about Dharma practice and the possibilities to bring wholeheartedness to that, starting from now in the listening. I know some of you have been listening to a little talk about Dharma every day for years now. It could be interesting to see what happens with that. But you know what happens when we bring this invitation to listen wholeheartedly and to reflect wholeheartedly on Dharma and this movement of giving and receiving that we are part of all the time, but very much so with the Sangha Live sessions, offered freely, offered wholeheartedly to us, and with the invitation to offer back wholeheartedly, which does not mean you have to offer a fixed amount or what you think is a large amount or a small amount. It's really that movement of the heart, of being present in the contemplation of what I receive and in the contemplation and the action of what I wish to give. So real invitation for that today with the practice. As many of you know, there's many costs that go into making these sessions possible, and it's the wholehearted giving of all of us as a community that make it possible to continue. And whatever you give this week will be shared between Sangha Live for the running costs of the platform and the offerings, and with myself for the teachings. So I'm just going to put the link to the Dana giving page in the chat. And I see that, Josie, you've already written a question, but there's no question. So please, if you have any questions or reflections, please put them in the chat. And if you can do like Josie did, put question in capitals at the beginning, that helps me identify that that is what it is. Okay. So the question, there is already a question there. Don't worry about it. It was actually great. Actually a good way. Saying there's a question and here it comes. Gives me time to pause and prepare. My question is, when we feel distracted, are there any tips around that? Yeah. So one really helpful tip, which I think we don't often hear, is when we feel distracted, with each distraction, pause. Yeah? Don't rush back to the anchor. Often, this is our habit. This is what we'll do. We rush back, and that movement of rushing back actually has rejection in it. It often causes more activity, which then feeds the distraction. So if it's possible for you, kind of pause or slow down as if you were, as if you had like a button to push on your experience where things go slower. And so just pause and go slower. Acknowledge the distraction. It might be just distraction. It might be, I'm thinking about that. Can also help to a little bit diffuse from that. Distractions are very compelling for us. But we want to change the relationship, change the energy. So slowing down and then remembering maybe our intention. Breathing, if that's helpful for us, also helps with the slowing down, and then kind of a sense of beginning again with the anchor. It doesn't matter if the next moment will be off on the distraction again. Yeah, this is also really helpful. Doesn't matter if that's what's going on. We pause. This is a moment of practice. It's not a moment of non-practice. This is exactly our practice. Pause, breathe, slow down. Yeah, even a little bit. Remember intention, and then re-establish this breath, or with the breath. So this can be really helpful. Another thing, if your mind is very, very restless, this works also with tiredness, with sleepiness, or with restlessness. Sometimes it can be helpful to give the mind more pegs for the attention, so give it a little bit more to do. So it may be that, say, if you're using the breathing, then you would count with the breathing, or you would say, in, out with the breathing, or you would pay attention to the beginning of the breath and the end of the breath to give kind of more pegs. So these are all things you could do with breath. If you're using meta phrases, you could kind of say more meta phrases. Yeah? Or that's one tip. I actually would recommend saying them more slowly. That's kind of what works for me. If you're with sounds, then again, a sense of the beginning of a sound, and then look how it changes, as it's passing through awareness, and it's disappearing. Yeah. And then gap, noticing that. So gentle noting can also be helpful to give more pegs. So hopefully that's not too much, but a few things to try out with that, and let me know how that sounds, if it responds to what you wanted to ask, and how it goes trying those out. Yeah, and Kevin's adding, the habits of mind are strong, dear friends. Recognizing them like that, can be very, very helpful. So anything else from anyone? Questions, reflections, also very welcome. It can be very intuitive for us, wholeheartedness, and then also sometimes a little bit tricky. I was noticing that opening this heart space seems to be what mind wants, as a space to throw in all the woes of the world, almost to see what can be released in the heart space, a kind of heart cleansing. Yeah, not sure what you mean there, Joss. So opening the heart is then kind of the mind then comes in and kind of uses it or wants to use it as a space to throw in all the woes of the world. But that feels like it's a release, like a heart cleansing. Does that feel useful for you? That's kind of, I think, what I'm not quite getting. Or does that feel overwhelming? That can be quite interesting to notice, and it may be different at different times. Yeah. And it can be also interesting to see what that means, with this wholeheartedness, presence with this. And then does it allow also to engage with certain things and not with others? How we engage. It does feel useful and sometimes overwhelming. Yeah. So just notice when and if it feels overwhelming to turn the attention somewhere else, or to kind of moderate the attention a little bit. So the wholeheartedness doesn't need to be everything in at once. Yeah. So it can be this. Yeah. And if this was quite, there's some tenderness with it, whatever that is, then a sense of, and then there's this beauty, or then there's this joy, or then you're remembering something, a special tree or something that kind of nourishes you, and you can be wholehearted with that. Yeah. So kind of that movement back and forth. That you can also do to work with that. And this relationship between wholeheartedness and open-heartedness can also be interesting. Now, what does it mean? Sometimes use this in Hebrew. The word for attention is putting the heart. That's interesting. And so we kind of see the relationship between heartfulness and attention, which often we think about attention just as a mental faculty, but when we think about it as kind of when attention is really really potent, it's when it's heartful, someone's fully listening to us. But then what's the relationship between heartfulness and vulnerability and overwhelm? So can we be heartful and yet still have a sense of grounding? And this is also where then the base of the body, the contact areas, the bigger vessel can be really, really helpful. So kind of playing with that and remembering, this is in the service of insight. This is in service of freedom from dukkha. And so we're kind of constantly playing with that as well. Okay, what came up for me was moments of shameful missed connection, misattunement, one from over 30 years ago. I was interested to feel the shame arise and then to meet it with compassion and acceptance and curiosity. Yeah, there we go. Wonderful reflection there from Helena. Yeah, how we meet it then. But yeah, also just to say, sometimes we hear, we're not trying to generate an experience. We're meeting actually what is arising in this moment, the breath, the sound, and then there may be the distractions. With that sense of more heartfulness, the mind goes to painful. I think that's what you're both saying. With the more heart, the mind goes to more painful things. It's interesting, also to why, like kind of it needs that space. I think that's what you were saying, Joss, earlier. And then can we bring compassion to the attention? There's a question from Caroline. Is heartfulness the same as presence? What do you think? Yeah, it's a really good question, isn't it, to reflect? I think, it's an interesting one. Like, can there be a presence that's actually cold-hearted? Yeah, no, but can there be a presence that's kind of open and cool, not in the sense of coldness, but in the sense that it's not demanding anything from experience? And then would it be heartful as well? And we can say yes, because it depends on the intention. But I would say, heartfulness here, I would say, can be a quality of presence, and keep the question alive, whether there can be a presence that's not heartful to some degree, even in the sense of the intention. And as always, the most important thing, what's useful for you. If heartfulness is a useful way of seeing presence, use it like that and see what it allows, see what it brings. We're interested to see what opens up our experience and allows more responsiveness. And there's another reflection. Bringing wholeheartedness helped me to meet this moment more fully. Also, I noticed that there was more of a feeling of opening up heartfully as I breathed in. Yeah. Thank you for that, Hannah. Yes, there was something just in that intention that changed the experience of the breath. Opening up more heartfully with the in-breath. And sometimes if that happens and we need to, if there's a sense of overwhelm, we can let go on the out-breath to meet that. Very, very beautiful. Thank you, Hannah. Yeah. And thank you, everyone. If that is the questions and reflections for today, then here's to a day of curiosity, of gentleness, of remembering possibilities, and of seeing what does it mean to bring wholeheartedness to this moment. What does it mean to bring heartfulness, if that word resonated with you, to this moment. So thank you for your practice, your listening, your questions and comments and reflections, very rich as always. And we will be back tomorrow for another exploration together. Go well, everyone.